happening, everybody? So, had the big reveal today. I mean, that was kind of a weird reveal. Even if you want to call it a reveal, what do you really call that? It was an announcement, really, more than anything else. So, spoiler alert, if you guys haven't seen any of this big reveal yet, brand manager Tim, I can't, was it Kinesis? I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to screw that up, but I'm just going to leave that alone. Anyway, dropped some non-bombs on us today, basically telling us that, well, the Durango is getting a facelift. That's kind of cool. Okay, I mean, if you like the Durango and you're into those things, then that's awesome. And then he goes on to tell us all about, hey, Mark Coyle, what's up? Got the arm flex, I like it. Then he goes on to tell us about the limited production of the Hellcat Durango. Ain't that cute? A limited production. TU's checking in. Hell yeah, what's up, man? Alex is checking in. What up, homie? So here's the thing. So yeah, there's a Hellcat variant of the Durango. We've known this was coming for a while, but it's only going to be a one-year run, which absolutely makes no sense to me. It's not like anybody necessarily is going to be clamoring for this 700 watt horsepower 3-row contraption. I just don't see it. I mean, yeah, it's a niche thing, but the Trackhawk already exists. Now, you might make the argument, well, the Durango is a little bit bigger. It's got a little bit more versatility. Think of the towing, think of whatever. Look, it's a one-year run thing. And by the way, ain't nobody talking about that paper just yet, y'all. So I was probably wondering, you know, like, what is the cost of this thing if it's only going to be a one-year run? Really, you know, they're talking about it running in the mid-11s. They're talking about it, you know, 0 to 60 in, you know, like a Banshee. That's great. But that's what you would expect, and you've kind of already got that with the Trackhawk. So my thought is this. Look, I'm glad that the SRT Durango is getting a little bit of a facelift, upgraded brakes, or whatever the case is. That's pretty cool. The Hellcat Durango, I guess you just need to keep making Hellcat-powered variants of whatever you got, because at this stage of the game, I guess, to me, what was more important about this whole reveal, and I'll get to the Superstock here in a minute. Anyway, I think you know where I'm going with that. But anyway, the point of this is, look, guys, if you're going to make a Hellcat variant of the Durango, and you've already basically thrown it out there, one of the funny things that was mentioned is what we're basically him saying we're not going to have a red-eye Charger. The only thing that we've held back, I should say, let me not mix words here. The only thing that he said they held back was not having a red-eye Charger. And my response to that is, who cares? At what point are you going to red-eye everything now? I mean, what's really going to happen with all of that? Does it even matter at this stage? So, getting back to it, though, you got everybody checking in right now. I need to say hey real quick, and then I'll start making some points that are actually somewhat valid. Let's see. Alex is checking in. See you. Also wondering why that one-year run. Slime Cooter's got the thumbs up. Alexandra is saying, I wish I had a wife and kids so I could excuse to buy a Hellcat Durango or a Trackhawk. Be the baddest dad on the block. Pretty much, especially with that Trackhawk. Dodge, let's just throw a Hellcat and everything. I know, right? But again, what wasn't stated that got to me. Canada guy saying, what's happening? Revlon's looking sharp. Yeah, she finally got a bath and she's got her street shoes on. Mr. Blacktop's got the 2. I like it, saying the markup on the Durango is ridiculous. Who's driving that car? Yeah, no kidding. We're going to get to that point in a minute. And Sinister Red Eye saying, evening, Mr. Mason with the arm flex. I like it. So here's the thing. First of all, no red-eye Charger. You know, take it or leave it. Guys, look, we've already kind of seen that the red-eye package, although it's a novelty, isn't a huge step away from the Hellcat. Here's the problem. When you red-eye-size a Hellcat, things get real interesting real quickly in that they basically run the same times. And in some cases, the Hellcat's a little bit quicker. So to that point, the Superstock. This is where things got a little bit stupid for me, because I just about jumped out of my chair. Like, not because I was happy, but because I was in complete disarray mentally when he started. They show this torch red Challenger wide body with a set of Demon wheels on it, and Tim's going, I said we weren't going to make another Demon, but I don't know. Here's another Demon. So it's making more power than the Demon did on 93 octane, with the only real difference, if I understood it correctly, to be the hood is the snorkel hood. And you don't get 100 octane mode. And that's basically it. So you get a 309 gear. It's a red eye. I think it's got the Demon springs, although that wasn't really alluded to. But here's the one thing I found that was kind of funny. It's a drag pack, in essence, right? But it doesn't come with a drag pack wheel and tire setup. This car runs 1050s in as delivered form. Okay, so my car with a stock tune, a 309 gear, and a drag pack went 1060s. Drag radial, it's basically a drag radial with this. 309 gear, stock tune, still shifting early. Not the new revised tune, by the way. Let's not get away from that, at least not too far away from that, where the new Hellcat platform and Red Eye platform has this revised tune where they're picking up a little bit of power by spinning it a little bit higher RPM. But this thing was doing that, and then I put my tune on it, and then it's quicker. So, and I mean quicker than the numbers that they're showing, and the car's damn near run 9s. I guess that's like going way around my ass to get to my elbow to say this. You mean to tell me that you said you weren't going to build another Demon, and then kind of sleight of hand threw the Red Eye in there as an upgrade to the Hellcat, only to now release a Red Eye with Demon wheels, Demon tires, mind you, I think Demon springs, a revised calibration that actually makes more power than the Demon did in 93 octane mode, or at least equivalent power to the Demon in 93 octane mode. Where am I not saying that this is Demon light? Like, this is Demon by proxy. I mean, even when you looked at the car that they rolled out, it looked like the Demon that they were advertising and showing in all of the pre-production shows that they were producing. Which brings me to another point. Throughout all of this, the cars that weren't mentioned actually kind of jumped off the page at me a little bit. First and foremost is a vehicle that they've already spoken about, which is the TRX. Still no word yet on the TRX, and although I understand completely that this is for year 2020, maybe 2021, and they're really not dabbling into 2022 yet, we need something to go on, Dodge. And look, a revised and a revamped Durango, okay, but a Superstock Challenger? How many more variants of this car are you going to make before you actually make a meaningful change? That was really my whole takeaway from it, was that I didn't see anything that was overwhelmingly exciting. And showing me a Red Eye wide body with a 309 that's slated to run 1050s in as delivered form, my only thought was, why are you wasting your time with wide body cars? Why not get a regular body, Revlon edition, call it the Mistress edition? I don't know, just spitballing here, but use the lighter car, throw the 309 in it, or better still, if you really want to capture that grassroots racer, take a Hellcat, put a 309 in it, give it a revised tune. Next thing you know, you're running 1040s. This car's run 1016s through the catalytic converters. 16, 17, 19 has run a string of 20s in really good air, has run a boatload of 30s. I can't tell you how many 40s it's run, and in lousy conditions runs a 50. You can't do that, Dodge? I mean, why are you rolling out the ghost of the demon at this point? And I understand, look, you're trying to get rid of parts out of the parts bin. Here's another thought. Why don't you, instead of, and here, let me rewind this for a minute. How many of those drive shafts or hoods or wheels packages that we can't get a hold of do you really have sitting around that you can't get rid of because you won't let anybody sell them, and now you're just going to dream up a new kind of car to throw them on? It just seems to me that Mopar, FCA, Dodge, whatever you want to call it, is a little bit disconnected from their grassroots racers. Because the one car that I was looking for, the naturally aspirated grassroots hot rod that I'm out there looking for, has yet to be thrown out. And you want to talk about the 1320, I'm not interested. Look, you get a Scat Pack core, you can do whatever that 1320 is going to do. I mean, full stop. That's all there is to it. And I know this because I've done this already. This is old news. But where's our aluminum block? Where's our upgraded higher horsepower? Where's a different gear for the 392 is what I'm talking about here. Where is any of that, Dodge? Where is any of the pull for the naturally aspirated guys? You're throwing Hellcats around like they grow on trees, like Hellcat platforms, like they grow on trees, basically leaving the 392 guys to wonder, is it even worth it to keep trying to fly that Mopar flag at its height? Funny the guy said that. I say that on this channel a lot. Not saying that he watched me and picked up on that. But I'll tell you this. For the guys that are flying the flag the highest, a vast majority of them don't have superchargers under the hood. So for me, I'm looking for something along those lines. A zinger. Something that's going to be awesome. Hey, you didn't see this thing coming, did you? Yowie. But it didn't happen. And because it didn't happen, and we were given just another trim level for the Durango. In other words, what I mean by trim level is like an upgraded interior thing. And a Hellcat variety of this just going to go on for maybe a year. Might stretch it into 2. I mean, we are halfway through 2020. Thank God. But then to roll out the Superstock like it means something. And to couch the car. This is, okay, so this is the part of it that absolutely just had me going, oh my God, this is not going to go well. When the Tim guy goes, well, we're going to, I know I said we weren't going to build another Demon. I just went, oh, hell no. And I could just think, okay, what parts are left over? What's some of, why, okay, what? And then it's the Superstock. Anyway, color me unimpressed, or at least unenlightened by this. I would have liked to have seen a little bit more, but given the times that we're living in with the whole COVID thing and, what's that done to, the factories and the fact that they probably had some shutdowns along the way, I get it. We're not going to get, really all worked up about anything in 2020. And it's cool that Dodge is at least doing something. But Ford's doing stuff too. I mean, they did release the Bullet a while back. Now they just dropped the Mach 1. Now they're not making a big production of it the way that Dodge does. But let's get into that production. Kenny Wayne Shepherd rock and roll. You got American Eagles smoking their wings through the sky. You've got, images of the 392 Durango doing an all-wheel drive burnout. You got, again, rock and roll, tire smoke, and everything else that comes with it. So is that, I guess, how I'm supposed to, think that these cars are engineered well enough for the use, misuse, and abuse that they're showing in their advertisements? But the interesting thing that the guy also said, which actually kind of got underneath my skin a little bit, was that they're selling a lifestyle. Now, remember what I had said not that long ago in one of the live chats about my pet peeve with Mopar and where it was going. And I likened the branding of Mopar and their marketing to the same branding and marketing of Harley Davidson. where Harley Davidson quit selling motorcycles and sold lifestyle accessories, one of which was and happened to be a motorcycle. But the real money comes in the just miscellaneous swag, the shirts, the jackets, the chaps, the boots, whatever. Anything that's orange and black with white trim that people will buy and hang in their garage or their office or their home or their bathroom or whatever. These are the things that I'm a bit concerned with, because this is now, it's a little bit creepy. You know, I don't want to be sold a lifestyle. I've been living this lifestyle practically my entire life. In fact, if you can tell, hands are still a little bit dirty. Before I came on, I was doing calipers and brake lines on the 72, which is sitting right on the other side of my garage door. So this is something that I do. I mean, it's just a thing. And you're going to try to now sell others on a lifestyle? Think about how creepy that sounds. I mean, I don't want somebody being sold into this lifestyle. That's a little bit weird, but I think you guys understand where I'm coming from with that. I was literally up to my armpits trying to get these calipers swapped out so I could get online tonight. And as I was doing that, I was thinking about that statement that he made. You know, we're not only selling a whatever he said, it's a lifestyle. And again, all the rock and roll music and the Eagles doing sky burnouts to Red, White, and Blue, Kenny Wayne Shepherd playing the Star Spangled Banner, and, you know, the freaking whatever in the, I was just going, oh God, this is so panderous, it's not even funny. And then it hit me. What about all the guys that have been taking their cars to the drag strip, just like with what they see in the advertisements through marketing, and having issues with their car, taking it in, and oh wait, their warranty's declined for whatever reason? It doesn't matter. There's a lot of people that are pissed off at Dodge right now, those that are driving their cars the way that they're marketed to be able to be driven, only to have their warranties denied. So I don't know, is there a rock and roll / country song that goes, I don't know, warranty denied? I mean, what is that? And I say that in jest, but it's only partial. And that's, I guess, the kind of sad part about that. But anyway, getting back to it, good luck with the whole Durango thing, Dodge. I hope it does work out. Thanks for mentioning the red-eye Charger. One thing we're not doing, or one thing we haven't done, or whatever you guys said, we haven't done the red-eye Charger. Was I supposed to catch a wink somewhere? Like, see, we're watching out for you. We're going to red-eye this thing. You just sit around and wait. I don't know. But the interesting part about that, and about them mentioning that, is to talk about the Hellcatization of the entire fleet, but not mention the truck that you've already mentioned, and only run the Durango out for a year. So anyway, let me check in with everybody. Let's see. I think I already got on the Sinister is checking in with Armflex. I like it. Billy is saying, Mr. Mopar, what up? What up, Billy? Ruben's checking in and saying, what's happening, B-Mac? What's up, Ruben? Fred's checking in and saying, evening and happy Dodge Reveal Day. So glad I was able to catch one of these. Very cool. Glad to have you on. Twan B saying, man, I really thought they were going to do something with the 392 platform. Me too. Alex saying, gun guys will understand this. People who want zero real changes, upgrades to the Challenger, are equivalent to the AK guys who refuse to make any upgrades to their stock rifle. Nah, car is fine. Shepherd's crook. Redo the trigger. File down your hammer. If you own an AK, please do those 3 things. Thank me for this. Freddie's saying, nice one. Thank you. Himmy Head saying, AB, Superstock is spec well, but nothing super special or worth the money. I don't even know what they cost. That's the funny thing. The Durango is collector cool, but not something I'd see off-road, hitting the trail, or going up the snow. Yeah, no kidding, right? Alex is saying, glad someone appreciates my humor. I like it. See, Machine saying, what is Ford doing besides the Mach? Well, I mean, take a look at the ongoing upgrades and I don't know, renovation, if you want to call it, to the Raptor. That's one thing. You know, take a look at what they've done not only with the Mustang, but look at the fact that they still keep supporting their brand through Ford Racing Performance Parts. So, you know, those two things alone, just from the grassroots side, are extremely important. Because think about it like this: if you own a Coyote powered whatever, you can go to Ford and buy a GT350 intake. That's really cool because that's a performance enhancing part and it's a direct fit part. There's nothing like that with Mopar. There's no support with Mopar. So yeah, Mustang is there, GT500 is there, which I get it. Everybody's forgotten about it. Like, what happened to GT500? Was it a ghost? Oh shit, it was a ghost. GT500, huh? No, everybody's forgotten about it. Nobody even cares. The funny thing is let me tell you guys something. I go to the drag strip every other weekend at minimum. I won't be at the drag strip this weekend. I will be at the drag strip next weekend. I'm not running Revlon because if you check out the Instagram, you'll see why. Tires are on the back over there. Anyway, I'm missing a chunk out of my tires. One burnout too many. So I've got to wait. I just got through getting the street set for Little Miss Revlon. So I've got to kind of save up a little bit before I get the new street rubber. So I'll be tuning on Chris's car at the track, not this weekend, but next weekend. But anyway, I'm there all the time is the point that I'm making. I mean, I think I pay the concession stand's rent every other month. And so the next GT500 I see at the drag strip will be the first. And nobody ever sees it. The only time I've seen the C8, granted, I understand the reasoning behind the C8, the factory shut down, but was when Amelia Earhart's car was at the track and I was just there hanging out with Pikes. So, I mean, there's that. But no, eerily absent from the scene. And that is the weird part about it. Anyway, tons of Mopars, tons of Mustangs, few ZL1s, definitely a bunch of C6 Vets. No GT500, nowhere to be found. Still wonder if those things really exist. James saying, what do you think of, oh, Story saying, hey, Professor Mason, what's up, B? James is saying, what do you think of the Comp HRT Stage 1-2 for a Scat with nice bolt-on and tune? Only go with the Stage 2. Make sure you speak with somebody who speaks fluent Mopar for that tune. Because if not, it will run like ass. Hey, hang on a second. Hang on. Mankey, thank you very much, man. I appreciate the contribution to the cause. Dang, man. Dude, I didn't have a question with it. Hopefully, there might be one a little bit before, a little bit after, maybe. And Sean, thank you very much. Saying a little nugget for some more whoa on your recent Nixon era purchase. So to that, okay, thank y'all very much for the contributions, guys. I really thank y'all for that. I truly do. By the way, if you haven't seen your contribution dollars at work, because I don't just pocket this stuff, I actually reinvest it so you guys can yell at me in the comments. Check out the vids. We are running now the Nitto Tri-5 R2 tires on the back of the car. So not to be confused with the regular Tri-5R. That is a the tire that's on the back. That is the new replacement for the Tri-5 and Tri-5R. The Tri-5 has been phased out, but the Tri-5R is still in production. Check out the two videos. There's one driving and one where I'm just kind of a sit down and just my driving impressions of the tire. I was able to talk to Nitto also today, and the Tri-5R is still in production. It's not going out of production yet. And there was no sign of, if there is, a future for that tire. It hasn't been written off just yet. And one thing I did kind of read the guy, the Riot Act, that I was talking to, going, look, man, just anyway, you got to watch the video. You'll kind of get my ideas as far as what's up with the tires. But those are your contribution dollars at work. So check that out. It's a neat little review. You know, a couple of 0 to 60 hits, high-speed stability test, and a, you know, just my 2 cents worth is in there too. But thank y'all very much, man. I really do appreciate that, guys. Let's see. Billy Owens saying, Mr. Mopar, what's up? Let's see, I like it. Ruben's checking in. What's happening, B-Mac? I like it. Got the arm flex, got the thumbs up with the bald guy in the shades. I like that. It's a good-looking picture. Fred saying, evening and happy Dodge reveal day. So glad I was able to catch one of these. Oh, wait, I went a bit too far back. Glad I caught some of these because sometimes they don't pop up exactly when I think they're going to. Let's see. Destroyer saying, Professor Mason. Already talked about the Kims. Destroyer saying, hit the like, please. Yeah, hit that like button. Machine. Warranty denied. That was my call sign on a deal that I was doing about 2 years ago. But very true. Machine. Shawnee's saying, very humid and hot right now. DA above $3,000. Could a little more timing get back some of the power? The humidity may reduce some of the fuel volatility, or am I crazy? No, the fuel's still every bit as volatile. It's the same no matter what. It's just you've got water displacing the air. But yeah, DA, not really ideal. But was able to get some solid data on the car last weekend. And, you know, here's the thing. It was 95% humidity. And between 83 and 80 degrees as the night went down, or as the night went on, the temperature went down a little bit, but humidity started to skyrocket. So at that point, it had gone from 88% humidity to 95 and 97, I think, percent humidity was the highest. Obviously, humidity is terrible for performance, and she was still running 50s pretty much all night, assuming that the car would hook. I mean, I was hitting second gear. I was getting at least 3 solid rotations out of the tire on the 1-2 shift. Never a good thing. Spun, you know, the 60 foots weren't all that great, but I had also done a tune revision. It was basically, freaking mosquito. Damn it. It was basically a tune revision, throwing a little bit more fuel at it because fuel quality is not that hot right now. And the idea is, you know, just to make a tune that's all weather, all good, all the time. So she was still running 50s. 131.7, I think, was the best mile an hour of the night. Was above 131 all night. So that's the tune that we're going to stick with. I think that's going to be the winning tune. But yeah, I was getting a little bit of tire haze. Man, and I was getting a little bit of a short shift on the 1-2, but again, she was still going 50s in nasty weather, so the mistress is working it. Ruben's saying, warranty denied because I drag raced a race car. So I'm curious saying, hopefully Dodge is just buying time while they're diligently working on a new Halo car to blow our minds. You know, there were some rumors going around for just a wee bit that there was, you know, the CUDA, which was what they were calling it. Look, we'll see. I know of some rumors, and I know how rumors get kind of kicked up, and it's like playing a game of telephone. Yeah, there's always something in the works. It's just taking forever to get us there. So, and again, Makey, thank you very much, man. I appreciate that. Sean saying, I'd like to buy a 2019 and newer dual snorkel Hellcat hood. Is Dodge going to be a pain in the butt about getting it? Yes. Aftermarket. Your thoughts? Maybe come up with one on the aftermarket. Just remember, your car is a mass air car, so it's not just going to be a plug and play with the cold air. But you could just use the hood and, you know, use that feature just for cooling if you wanted to, kind of the way that this one does. Let's see. Mr. Blacktop saying, was hoping for a Jeep Grand Cherokee Red Eye. Yeah, I know, kidding, right? That'd have been sweet. Alex is hollering out at Slime Cuda saying, I don't want any more Halo cars. I wanted to do some upgrades on the cars that the masses buy. That's kind of my point. Yeah. The problem really here is, and he absolutely resonate with a really strong point, Alex. I mean, look, it's the 392 guys, it's the 5.7 guys. These are the guys that need a little bit of love. Throw some gearing options at the 5.7. Throw some gearing options at the 392. Give the guys something that realistically they can take to the track, take to the street, whatever, you know what I mean? Get out there and have some fun and not feel like that they're going to be playing second fiddle to a Ford or a Chevrolet. Because keep in mind, the breed is constantly evolving, whether it's a Camaro, even though there's rumors of its demise in just a few years. The Mustang is obviously always going to be evolving. Mopar's got to do that too, and Mopar's got to stay on that game, because if they don't, again, you're going to see, Ford's kind of funny. Ford will allow things to get a little bit away from them, and then they'll just go, boop. They just kind of pop up out of nowhere. Be careful with that Mach 1, because that's exactly that type of a car. It's exactly what Mopar guy has been asking for a while. More power, different gearing, different whatever. But the fact of the matter is, we need something for the NA guys. Desperately. I mean, let's be honest. I got a little bit away from NA because I got overwhelmingly bored with it. I mean, not that the cars were boring. It's just that, worrying about breakage and worrying about problems with the setup and all the things that come with that made the Hellcat platform, which is a known very durable from performance, for durability, for use, misuse, abuse, the whole bit. I've seen these Hellcats take abuse that, they should not have survived, and it didn't even faze them. So, go figure. But the reality is that the NA guys just didn't get any love, so there's that. Slash checking in saying, what's up? And again, thank you again, Sean. Billy Owens saying, what are your thoughts on Dodge still throwing Pirellis on these Hellcats? Spinning isn't winning. Why do they keep sticking to the tire that fails? I have an 18 wide body M6. And I had the Tri 5.2s and hook, and it looks like he's liking them. Billy's typing. I can see where. What the game changer for him. So here's the thing, guys. I'm right there with you. Why don't they have a staggered wheel and tire setup for these cars? It aesthetically looks nice, and you need the extra traction for these things. So Dodge, get with the program. You need to do this. Catch up a little bit. The car looks good. It performs really well, but man, we got to see a little bit more substance. Quit putting style above substance. I get it. You're throwing Hellcats and everything. Nice, whatever. But we've got to have something that's really tangible for everybody, not just for the supercharged guys. I want to see the 5.7 guys doing well. I want to see the 6-cylinder guys doing well. I want to see the 390. Obviously, I'm partial with the 392s. I need to see the 392s doing well. I need to see the 392s doing well against the Mustangs, because as it sits, you've got to, or used to, you'd have to mod the Mustang in some way to make sure that you can walk around a Challenger on the big end of the track. And it was like that up until about a year ago. But now with the, the introduction of the Mach 1, do you call it that? From the factory anyway. I get you can throw those parts on any Coyote-powered contraption. That's not what I'm getting at. This is a car from the factory that on a drag pack is going to walk away from a Scat Pack. Dodge, you can't let that happen. I don't care what the Hellcat is doing to ZR1s on the drag strip. If you're allowing your NA guys to get beat up, that means the entire team fails. Brotherhood. Come on, man. You can't treat your little brother like that. And you don't even call him little brother, because by numbers, they're a greater force. Let's see. Sean saying, your new Nittos appear to have a very similar tread pattern to my Nitto 5Rs with a little burnout. They hook up on the street well, and I ran a 160 60-foot with them. Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, no, they're not bad. They're not bad tires. They're just not far and away better. Mankey's, oh, thank you very much. I appreciate that, brother. Saying, any tips on hitting a heavy bag? I just started getting into it. Yes. Okay. Biggest rookie issue on anytime you're running heavy bag, first and foremost, a heavy bag is not there for you to see how hard you can hit something. In fact, farther from the truth. What you need to do is you need to work on peppering it. You need to work on footwork. You need to work on technique. Start off very, very light, like you're playing patty cake with it. You start trying to, what happens is guys will get started. You see these guys pop, pop, bam. It's 1, 2, 1, 2, 4, 1, 2, 3. You'll see 1, 2, 2, 2. It's not what you, and you never want to go real hard on hooks. That's how guys explode their shoulders, and it's sad because you end up killing your workouts for 2 months while your shoulder heals. So here's what you want to do. You want to step into, I throw everything southpaw. So for me, you're going to step into it, start working jabs, work jabs low, work jabs up. Remember, you're on the telephone the whole time. Keep that backhand up. Work high, work middle. Always make sure you got your chin tucked. And you're just going to work on technique. You're going to step out, and you're going to throw with your. So if you're orthodox, work on the jab, work on the jab, work on the jab. Stepping into it. Then get into the bag, and then work on a defensive jab. Work on your defensive jabs. Always be working on head work. That if you're doing that with your heavy bag routine, and you're not wailing on it, that's going to help you a ton. Also, get you a good set of heavy bag gloves. What you don't want to get into the habit of, again, is you don't want to get into the habit of wailing on it. You want to get used, and also lots of slow motion. You want to work on footwork. You want to work on closing distance. Those are the things that you want to work on when you're messing with the heavy bag. If you see somebody that looks like they're, basically flailing on a heavy bag, they're probably doing something wrong. Typically, the guys, if you're going to be going heavy, you're going to be going heavy for just a real brief amount of time, and what you're basically doing is you're working on distance. You're basically gauging distance with something that's real hard. I'll go heavy on a heavy bag maybe for 3 rounds at the most, but really I'm not going that heavy. I'm mainly working on transitioning from a 1-2 slip, and then I'll come across with that with basically a right cross combination or a shovel hook, things like that. But the heavy bag is there for you to work on combinations, and it's not really there for you to just use terrible form and it's also funny too, because I've seen guys work on heavy bag and I'm thinking, oh my God, he's dropping the shoulder, he's dropping his head down, he's setting up too much. He's throwing these overhands, and I'm thinking, oh my God, that's just literally a half step over and a shovel hook. So anyway, it's fun to watch, and you can game plan off of guys if you're watching the guys in a gym, or just watching video of guys running heavy bag. But anyway, that's my advice for heavy bag. Again, just use it for footwork primarily, closing distance, moving, making sure you're always moving your lead foot first. Whatever direction you want to go, that's the way you go. In other words, if this is your stance, you're coming out. Okay, you're just. Anyway, I go on and on about that, but just don't go nuts on a heavy bag. You'll end up blowing your shoulder out. Shawnee's saying, in other words, I think you're going to like them. It's not that I don't like the tire. I don't like the fact that it's so busy, and I like a little bit more of a plain look. I'm getting used to it. I'm not saying I can't get used to it. All I'm saying is that I don't like the tire to be a focal point. I want it to be a part of my car, not an accessory for my car. But so far, the tire as a tire goes is doing fine. T's asking, do you think they might be ditching the 392 entirely by 2022? Man, I don't think so. The 392 is here to stay because it is now anyway, a fairly reliable, very powerful, very predictable V8. I mean, there's not a lot of failures that I've heard of late with the 392s. They seem to be doing fine in a form. The only downside to a 392 is that they're not doing anything with it. I'd like to see some innovation with the 392, at least before it's sent out to pasture. And, who knows? If they moved over to a supercharged 5.7, that would be just dandy. But again, you lose that snappiness of that 392, and I would hate to see that. So anyway, if they get away from the 392, I'll say that they left so much on the table by doing so, and it would be just a major tragedy. I still think it is, in NA form, one of the most special engines that Dodge ever made. Look at the power output. Look at how it can get a 4,300 pound car down a quarter mile in mid 12s, low 12s on a real sticky tire on a really good day into the 11s, for crying out loud. And I understand transmission and whatever, but that's really cool. And these are numbers. These are kind of heroic numbers if you think about them for an NA car from the factory. So anyway, I hope they don't. I haven't heard anything solid about the 392 going away though, so I'd say it's here for a while. My High saying, I like the twin turbo build Pikes did on the C8. Oh yeah, will the stock bottom end take it though? Yeah, it'll be just fine. The stock bottom end will take it. I'm more concerned with the transmission than anything else, but we'll see. Oh damn, Billy Owens, thank you very much, man. Saying, you're the man, Pirelli suck. 18 wide body Hellcat M6, I love it. Fun car, by the way. Let's see. Base Chad saying, oh my God, you guys watching the news? What is that bullshit? She is not getting arrested. Get that shit out of here. Billy Owens saying, fat bigger. Alexander saying, could Dodge realistically kick up the 392 to 5 1/4, 540 horse while meeting emissions? If so, the 5.7 could get some 392 parts bin love, no doubt. So here's how you kick up the power of the 392. They had already talked about when the 392 was in development, they ran an intake manifold very similar to the 6.1, and the car made roughly, I think it was like 510 horsepower, something like that. It's been a while since I read the article, but the thing is that it lost bottom end torque when you compare it to the dual runner intake, or the dual mode intake for that matter. So the issue really was, horsepower versus torque. I think what they need to do is they need to take a little bit different approach with that car. They need to revise the dual mode or short runner, long runner intake manifold. They need to revise that to where it just will flow better at higher RPM. The heads are more than capable of managing well over 600 horsepower naturally aspirated. What needs to happen is a camshaft profile change, an intake manifold change, and that would get you to that power number. You wouldn't be giving up a ton down low, but it would be making a ton of power out the back door. And really, I mean, you've already got, like, with a more aggressive tune and a couple other mods, you can already get them around 5 1/4 horse, which is nutty to me, at the flywheel. So it's not like you can't do it. It's just the idea behind this is they need to do something. And again, the first place I would look would be the intake manifold. The intake manifold and a slight revision to that camshaft profile would make all the difference in the world. And it just wouldn't take that much to get that engine there. So, and would it pass emissions? Of course it would pass emissions. I mean, look, we've already proven that leaving the catalytic converters on the car is just fine. Nobody's picking up any power by ripping off the cats. So I don't know. It's one of those things where you go, man, just leave the cats on the car, revise the intake, put a little bit different cam in it, done for the next 5 years. So, but we'll see if they ever get around to it. To you saying, I have a feeling that by 2022, 2023, along with ditching the LX platform, they will discontinue the 392 in the new performance car platform and opt for a forced induction 6-cylinder for the new one. See, here's the thing, they were talking about, one of the things they were talking about with the the LX platform was just simply revising it and giving it a little bit of a warm over, so to speak. It was going to be slightly lighter, little bit different body paneling, you know, just basically a warmed over LX, and we're going to re-up the contract with Mercedes-Benz on the platform. And they were talking about that because of issues that they were looking at with the Ghibli platform and with the I just saw one the other day. Anyway, you know the Alfa Romeo platform. Giulia platform, where they couldn't fit the V8 in it or something like that. So for me, when I'm looking at that, I'm thinking, okay, well that's all fine and good, but they were talking about that going from the Ghibli platform or the Giulia platform to the Ghibli platform, and then from there they're just like, look, we're just going to revamp the LX platform and call it good, which in a lot of ways just makes more sense. The only problem is that you don't see any innovation. I mean, you get some interior upgrades and you get a few other knickknacks and gadget whacks, that's fine, whatever, but you've got other suspension geometry that's a little bit better. You've got maybe some weight issues you could maybe pick on, so I don't know. It makes it a little bit more difficult to pin down, though, in terms of, you know, what are they going to do? Are they going to go in this direction? What could it possibly be? That makes it difficult when they've basically spanned the entire what if spectrum. So I don't know. We'll see. I hope they keep the car a full size car though, and not shrink it down so much where, you know, the packaging requires that V6. Not saying that it's bad or anything. You make a lot of power with the V6, obviously, but I don't know. We'll see. Maybe it'll be more mod friendly. Mike saying, hey B, I have a fully built modded 08 Charger SRT, but really want a manual 0610 SRT Challenger. Thinking of swapping the internals, not trans obviously, of my Charger with the Challenger I buy. Any thoughts? No, you shouldn't have really any issues at all at that point. Obviously you're going to need to tune it, but you know, the main thing is just you're going to want to make sure that, yeah, everything will swap over except for, you know, a cat back, unless you've got an aftermarket cat back with an extension in it. That's all you'll need is just take the extension out. Basically, you've got everything that you will need to go with that setup. Let's see. Mike's saying, also, do you know of a good 6-speed that can handle 1,000 plus horsepower? TR6060 works great in those applications. Xcash saying heavy bag so it stays more planted. The main thing is just what you don't want to do is you don't want to find yourself wailing on a heavy bag, because you're not. What most guys will do is if you're wailing on a heavy bag, you're not working on accuracy. You're not working on pop. You're not working on head movement. You're not working on technique. You're not really working on anything. You're just hitting something really hard. And again, what happens is guys will overextend. You'll see guys where they're, instead of like on a hook, where you're going to want to be concise, you're going to want to step back on that hook and just, turn on the hook. You'll see guys do these Tommy Morrison type, and they'll just yank their arm out there on this. It's like almost a reverse overhand. It's just, and that's how they tear this shoulder up, their lead shoulders up. So yeah, the idea is to use the bag for, the best way I can put it to you is use the bag for the technique, and then if you want to get good at hitting something hard, try hitting something that'll hit you back. Typically, when you figure out that thing's not gonna just stand there, you won't want to overcommit. And that's the other thing. Heavy bags can give guys really, really bad habits where you try to hit the thing hard and you have a tendency to overcommit. That's something that you just don't want to find yourself doing. You overcommit with somebody with even remotely decent technique, and I mean, they'll actually just turn 90s on you and catch you with a, because typically when you overcommit, you're down. It only takes about 3 or 4 times of seeing that pattern before somebody will pick up on it. You catch this, basically a freaking straight with a guy parrying off of your overcommitment. And I mean, that's how you get really well acquainted with the mat. So, I mean, we've all been beginners at some point, and I've been caught overcommitting. Let's just put it to you that way. Machine saying, used to be a boxing coach or what, or just a passion? I've been in and around that stuff also too for most of my life. So I've done all kinds of dumb stuff with that game too. So save that for another deal. We used to, at a house that I used to have, we used to do, you know, the badass at the barbecue and shit like that there. And so, you know, we'd have a fish fry or a barbecue or something like that, and then we'd get in the backyard and lace them up. And, you know, before we ate, you know, we'd get out there and bloody each other up. It's just a good group of friends of mine. We grew up fighting each other, and, you know, we just never quit. We just got older and slower. See, Alex is saying, we've had some really good scraps back there too, by the way. Alex was saying, to you, hope they keep at least one V8. Oh, talking about the V8s, yeah. Yeah, and then saying the Tornado inline 6 with turbos will probably take the place of the 5.7, depending on power output. So here's the thing. They were worried about, with the inline 6, be a 3-liter inline 6, and they were worried about packaging with that thing. Now, you guys, I love me some inline 6 turbos, man. I think that is one of the absolute best architectures that you can find yourself working with. And I get, you know, the flexing of the crank and all that stuff, but realistically that can all be engineered out. If they can make it work, you know, a 3.5 or a 3-liter inline 6 with some crazy cylinder heads and at least enough, you know, clamping force to hold about 1,000 horsepower plus, which is what guys are going to start getting out of those engines, that's going to be some stuff that you're going to want to look out for. But I just don't know that that's where they're going to wind up. I think that that's a neat avenue to take. And if they did that with the trucks, that would be awesome. Again, just because of packaging, it might be a lot easier to get something like that working with the trucks than it would be with the cars. But I will say this. I don't see the brotherhood of muscle moving to an inline or a V6 anytime soon. I think they're going to figure out a way to keep V8s in those things, probably Hellcat variety of V8s in those things for a very, very long time. James Cup is saying, just got the Stage 2 comp cam, 222, 230. Seems to me you shop for where you want the power band instead of what gives the most horsepower. So yeah, let's talk about that. So when you're looking at these cams, guys, for these Hemis, remember a couple of things. If I'm putting a cam together for one of these cars, the first thing I have to take into account is the weight of these vehicles. What is it being used for? These are not outright drag cars. These are street cars. You need them to be able to do street things. And what we found with these Hemis and with these intake manifolds and at this weight, the reality is that if you get more aggressive than 220 and 230, if you get outside of that range to the side, err on the side of the bigger numbers, by too much, the car starts hemorrhaging power down low. And that's something that you just can't have with one of these things. Now, you can mitigate that with either a gear or with a torque converter, or both. But here's the thing. That starts to add paper to the build, and that can be a bit of a problem, especially when you consider what it costs already to do a cam on these cars. So that's really why that spec has garnered so much attention. So you'll see a ton of cams in the 218, 220, 222 range for the 392s, and for the 5.7s, you'll see them in the 216, 218 range at the most. Maybe you'll see a 220 here and there, but that's really why that is. It's because, gotta be honest with you, man, these big girls, they got to get some kick in the ass to get them to move. And if you numb them up too much down low, yeah, the power number might be good, which is great, but you end up losing, you lose what you really, what makes one of the Mopars special, which is that real snappy throttle response, that good, solid, strong torque band over the entire power band, that really strong tip-in torque. Once you start losing that, the car loses its edge. It's like it becomes a little bit too horsepower focused, and you don't have an intake manifold that can really take advantage of a big cam anyway. Now, if you wanted to talk about maybe running, something that was like one of the MSDs or an FAST intake on one of these cars, I mean, damn, that would be awesome, because then you could run a cam in the thing that was maybe more like 226, 232, with a set of long tubes on like a 113 LSA at like 109 intake center line. Dude, that would be nasty. Drop it down to 107, maybe get a little bit torquier down low. That would be sick. But we just don't have an intake manifold that's like that will accommodate these cars. And again, you're going to be giving up the torque. So that's where you got to go back to, okay, if it's an automatic, you're probably going to need to get a converter, and then it's this, it's that, it's this, and my God, it just depends on how fast you want to go, and then at that point, how much money have you sunk into it? So, the financial part of it, unfortunately, starts to rear its ugly head, and that's typically when one of these things winds up in your garage. So, Destroyer saying, hit the likes, y'all. Yeah, hit those likes. Appreciate that, buddy. Canada guy saying, I'd love to see an aluminum block NA that can spin up to, say, $7,000, but hey, we can dream. Well, that's the thing. They can do it, and that it's just an intake manifold a cam away. I mean, yeah, the block would help, but yeah, we can dream, brother. We can dream. TU's hollering out at Alex. Destroyer saying, I will help the mod. Let's see. Dr. Div saying, what up, B? Just getting on tonight. What up, Doc Div? Saying he made it back safely. Doc Div just picked him up a dyno, so that's awesome. Can't wait to hear how that goes, getting that thing set up. Jeffrey Owens saying, is 60,000 miles a lot for an RT Challenger? It's certified pre-owned? Yeah, not really. Check to see if it's had the Hemi tick issue taken a look at, but no, you'll be in good shape. Let's see. Dr. Div's asking, what is the revision topic? I think we're talking about the reveal tonight. But then you know how it is. We go on topic and then we start talking about other stuff, and then that's just typically what I found is that whatever the topic is, that's what my monologue is at the beginning of the video, and then we just start talking about other stuff. Let's see. Fred's saying, yeah, us 5.7 runners need some love too. I'd love to mod up my Charger NA to 400 to 550 horsepower. Well, horsepower, is that practical? Not really for that setup. No, I wouldn't say that would be a practical deal. I'd love to start on Forged and Turtle build within a few years. Only if you went, I mean, you're not going to get there NA. You can get there with a blower though, but I wouldn't try to get there NA. You're going to be giving up a ton of torque, and again, you just don't have a manifold that'll be able to manage it unless you switch over to a 6.4 manifold. And then you've got your own issues to go along with there. Arthur's saying, oh, thank you, B. Mason. You made my day. Just got off work. Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate that. It's nice of you. T saying, fair points, B. Thanks for the answer to our questions. Of course, man. That's why I'm here. I love it. Thank you for hanging out, brother. Shawnee's saying, old guy, second owner, 1974 42, 455 W34 speed, 410 gears. Actually, it sounds a lot like a buddy of mine's car. A buddy of mine in college had one of those, or his uncle did. 370 horse, 500 torque, low 14s at 102 miles an hour. Fast then, but 6-cylinder Challenger now are fast. Yeah, everything is fast nowadays by comparison. So, Ruben's saying, opinion on AJ's new fuel pump. It's a bad boy. I mean, you're talking about the biggest plug-and-play system for the Challengers, or for the Hellcats. If you've got a Challenger and you're going to plan on running, 2 pulleys on E85, and you may want to get more aggressive with it afterwards, that's kind of a good fuel system to start out with. Anything that's going to be plug and play, anything that is going to be friendly with your CAN bus, so to speak, that's really what you're looking for. So I think it's going to be good. I think that, when I was on Demonology's show, he was, we were talking about it, and for me, it's cool to see that type of a setup being offered for these cars, because the alternative is almost unthinkable, both in price and in just the sheer pain in the ass factor of dealing with, you know, one of the big name triple pump setups. If you don't need it, you don't need to have it in the car. It adds complexity. It adds just some other issues, in my opinion. I'm just not the biggest fan of that kit. So anyway, I like AJ's though. It's very similar to Injected Engineering's kit, but Injected Engineering's kit uses smaller pumps. But any of those are good, and realistically, if you go beyond that pump's capabilities, I mean, you're talking about a kit that's going to be, you know, able to handle probably 11 or close to 1,200 horsepower to the rear wheels. If you get beyond that pump's capabilities, you're already pretty deep into that project. Chances are you will have already gone with a much larger fuel system, but it'll carry it pretty far. Shawnee's saying, barn find, an old man show me. Cool. Oh yeah, cool car for sure. Oh, Shawnee's checking out. Good night to you, brother. Thank you for hanging out. Speed Freak saying, hey, B, I see people complaining that race stars are difficult to mount with the lugs they use. What's different about them? I need 17, so I'm looking. Man, look, there's not any major, let me see if I've got it. It's not that major of an issue if you get the open-ended lug nuts. In fact, where are mine? Hang on, let me see if I can find it real quick. I'll tell you what, I'll show you what I'm talking about. Well, shit, I thought they were over here. Basically, the problem is if you get closed-ended lug nuts, they're shanked lug nuts, so they actually go into the wheel. It's not like the stud sticks out and you just put a regular acorn nut on. These are shanked nuts that go through the wheel to the back of the rim. And it can be kind of a pain in the ass because you've got to get just the angle of the dangle right. Plus, you got to make sure that you've got your hub-centric rings in there to help you mount it. That's one part where guys do get it wrong, is they have the wrong size hub-centric rings. Or they don't have any at all. That can make it a pain in the ass. So you need to get your hub-centric rings in there. But if you have the close-ended lug nuts, the problem is that they can be kind of hard to get started. And so guys will cross-thread them, and that breaks studs, and they cuss and yell a lot, which I would too. The idea here is to get yourself the open-ended lug nuts, and I just stick them on my pinky, stick them in there, and just kind of twist them until they catch. And I'll just hold the wheel, and I just kind of go in there, and I'm just, you know, pinkying the lug nuts to get them started, and then I'll just kind of start running them in, and you know, actually I don't have any problem with it. I kind of knock it out fairly quickly. So it just takes a little bit of practice. It's a little bit different. You're not just taking the wheel and going clonk and then, you know, doing your star pattern for your lug nuts. A little bit different, but that's why people get a little bit sideways with those wheels. Destroyer Grains hollering at Sean saying bye. Let's see. Jamie's asking, have you noticed any difference in tone, and is there any drone since removing the resonators on Revlon? There is. It's a slightly deeper tone, but that would kind of come with the territory. It's a 3-inch pipe. The other thing is that it's not really droney. It's just a little bit louder at a little bit lower RPM. You could maybe say that it drones a little bit, but it doesn't really bother me at all. As a matter of fact, I kind of like the way it sounds with them off of there. So, but if a drone per se, you know, if a true drone is going to get on your nerves, probably wouldn't do the resonator delete. But to me, again, it just seems like it's a little bit louder. It sounds like you've got an aftermarket exhaust in the car. One that doesn't have any resonators at the back. So hang on, guys, just 1 second. I got to grab, you know. Man. Had to grab me something to drink. Getting a little bit parched there. All right. But Does it drone? Yeah, I mean, I guess you could say that it drones a little bit more, but at highway speeds, I don't even notice it. It's basically at really low speeds, and I don't know, I just kind of like it anyway. So, Jeffrey saying, thanks for the answer, Reed. Thank you very much, Jeffrey. Danny's asking, have you tried the pedal commander? I used to install those things on myself, my cars, and buddies of mine's cars. I like the pedal commander. So if you don't want to put a tune on the car and you need an easily removable solution to get a little bit more throttle response, I say go for it. I know that there's some guys that absolutely love them. I don't have one on my car, but then again, I can adjust the throttle response in my tune. But here's the cool thing about the pedal commander. You can make it aggressive if you want something that's real snappy, or you can dial it back. If you're on a long trip and you don't want it to be, you know, real snappy, just cruising down the freeway, you can do that. If you're just kind of in a chill mood and you're driving the car and you're really not trying to shower down on it, you can do that. There's a lot of neat things you can do with a pedal commander. I had one in my E63. And I would, you know, put it in basically eco mode and just kind of cruise the car like that. I just kind of like that kind of stuff. If I was feeling a little bit aggressive, I'd, you know, throw a little bit more aggression into the pedal commander and, you know, go smoke the tires and go drift it out of U-turns and stuff. But yeah, no, I mean, it was just they're neat, they work, and I've always thought that in many ways it's a shame that these modern cars, you can't just have a screen that says throttle response. Up, 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 down, down, down. I mean, why can't they do that? Because all it is, you're adjusting driver command torque. That's all it is. And that is how much angle on the accelerator, what does that translate into torque delivered? That's all you're doing. So, I mean, it doesn't gain any power, but it does, you know, liven the car up or chills it out, whichever way you want to go. Let's see. Oh, Fred saying, ouch, was hoping to do the forged internal setup for a blower. Should I just plan for a blower only setup instead? Yeah, I mean, look, if you want to go blower, that's going to be the direction that you're going to want to go. In other words, given the power level that you're looking for, blower will pretty much get you there. I mean, look, you put an E-Force on a 5.7, it's going to make, on a Mustang dyno, it'll make about 430, 440 horsepower to the rear wheels. That is an extremely fun car to drive. An E-Force on a 5.7 is like having a very, very well sorted out 392. Except it's torquier, like through the mid-range. It just has a little bit more of that mid-range punch. So if I were to go that route, if that was my goal, if that was my drive to get that to perform, Mason, if it was my goal to get to a driving performance that equated to a 450-ish horsepower to the rear wheels, I made it through it, that thought, geez Louise, then that's the way that I would go and just call it good. You don't need to have any internals to get there, and do everything you want to do with that setup with a stock cam too. Just a tip from your buddy Brian. Billy Owens saying, can I borrow $10? Yeah, sure, why not? Honestly, I have the wide body M6 and just bought the Carbon X pipe. Looks like a major upgrade over stock. Curious on your thoughts on it. So you're going to get a different tone. It's going to sound really good. In terms of performance, you're not going to see a huge performance increase, but again, it'll, you know, the tone of it is going to sound good. I've only heard one, and I like the way that it sounded. But that's really all I can say to it, because the stock exhaust is actually really, really good. I mean, you got guys running low 9s with the stock exhaust. So, Alex is asking, at Fred saying the 5.7 will take about 78 PSI on a stock bottom end with a good tune, especially with a centrifugal blower. But If you really want to make power and have longevity, go for it. Yeah, that's true. I mean, like we've seen 10 pounds of boost and not had any real issues. So there's that. I mean, you got guys making more, pushing that stock bottom end even harder than that. So look, here's my thing. Go with, always stick with that was something else that the guy said that drives me nuts, because I'm always talking about staying on the recipe. Stick to the recipe. The eForce kits are nice. They're clean looking. They install easily. They make really good power. If you start trying to go outside, and by the way, it's instant boost. If you start trying to get outside of that, and what happens is guys will start to get sidetracked. You start to focus on a number and you forget that you're already starting at a pretty high number. Even with a 5.7, you're starting in a really strong place. A regular tuned 5.7 will put down around 320, 330 to the rear wheels. And I know in this day and age that didn't sound like a lot, but that's on a Mustang dyno, and that's plenty. That's a lot of power, trust me. You figure you take that 320 to 450, that's 130 horsepower gain. That's a lot of power to gain, and have it be reliable, have it be warrantable. So yeah, you get one of the eForce kits, get a Pikes Performance tune, get Dr. Diff to tune it. One of those scenarios where these folks understand and know Mopar, you've got a very robust, very strong running platform. Now, if you want to go more than that, then yeah, start looking to go forged. You're going to want to get everything set up in that platform for boost, for making big power. Because if you don't, you're risking scattering your engine, which is going to be a whole lot more expensive than your ability to just go ahead and swap it out at once and do it at your budget's availability. Let's see, Fred's hanging out with Alex. Oh, Canada's saying, speaking of resonators, I'm thinking about taking mine off my 6.1 and converting it to an H-pipe. Your thoughts? It'll sound amazing. It will sound very good if you do that. I kind of would like to put an H-pipe on this car. Smoking 05 saying, howdy, B, joining late. I was waiting to hear your thoughts on the new SRT Superstock. I'll have to rewatch from the start. Yeah, I kind of jumped all over that one a little bit. Look, all I can say to that is if I were a Demon owner, I would be a little bit on the pissed off side of life, because you basically watched Dodge throw out Demon Light. It really is. And to make it even worse, they rolled it out in Demon Red. It looked just like the press car, except the fact that it had a snorkel hood on it. It looked just like the Demon press cars. I think all of those were either Redline Red or Torch Red. And I saw that and went, uh-oh, uh-oh. Something else for me to gun after at the drag strip. No, but seriously, what can you say? I mean, I was hoping that there would be something for the NA guys, and there wasn't. I was hoping that there would, obviously, with their marketing coming into this, it was all supercharger stuff. So once again, that was, what they were driving. Nothing for the grassroots crew, and nothing for, nothing to say that they were going to be supporting anything by way of, reintroducing direct connection or anything like that. So, yeah, there's that. Let's see. Alex is saying it'll cost you less in the short term to do that, but it might cost you big time in the long term. So the tune and fuel quality will be critical. Personally, I just go forged to be safe. If it's in the budget, you do that every time. No question about it. You can get away with a lot with these stock engines, but one thing I will caution you on, again, these cars are heavy. And because they're heavy, the engine's got to carry more load. More load means higher cylinder pressures. Higher cylinder pressures means potential for issues with fuel quality. It means you have to back off timing. So I guess my point is, just like with anything, but especially, damn spider just is eating some kind of a bug up there. Freaking nature show going on over here. Just like with any of these cars, the modern cars especially, they're already performing at such a high level. Even the 5.7, these things are already performing at such a high level that, well, the 5.7 to a little bit lesser extent here, but especially with the 392, you've got to remember that there's the window for streetability and livability with modern fuel quality is narrowed significantly. Whereas stuff from back in the day, I mean, heads, cam, intake, exhaust, this, that, everything else, you could practically, take a 225 horsepower engine and make 500 horsepower with it. Well, that is a huge increase. You just don't see that anymore. You're starting out at 480 now. You know what I mean? So that's one of the issues you're going to run into. Smoking 05 saying, SRT Superstock. I mean Demon. I mean Superstock. Exactly. And if you didn't know any better, here's the thing. If you didn't know any better, you would swear that was a Demon sitting there. Be like, Demon. Demon wheels, Demon tires. It's Demon red, for crying out loud, right? Unless you caught the fact that it had a snorkel hood, it's a Demon. So anyway, I thought that was funny. That was pretty funny though, Smoke. Slime Cute is saying, at Ruben, where is that AJ fuel pump available? Oh yeah, it's AJ, I have to get, I'm not sure actually, now that you mention it, can't remember the name of AJ's shop right now. Oh, Fred saying, thank you for the insight. Man, I'm happy to be here for you, brother. Thanks for hanging out with us. Oh, did I miss something? I hope I didn't miss something. Looks like Billy's saying, whomever. I like it. Proper English being used. I really enjoy that. Someone say, do you run a wideband gauge in the car? I want to run one, but don't like pillar mounts or gauge pods. I like stock appearing. Might hide one in the glove box. It depends on what I'm messing with. I've got an old LM2. Innovative LM2 that I would use for like carbureted stuff, Fox body stuff, the older stuff. This one's got a wideband gauge in it, but you've got to reverse your brain a little bit, because what you see in the cluster is actually 6% richer than, it's showing 6% richer than what it really is. So you just got to know that, at 14.7, it's showing 13.6, it's really 14.7, but I just use this one. But to answer the question directly, no, I don't all the time, because if I'm looking for something like that, I'm data logging the car, and I've got that information plus a whole lot more at my fingertips. So my wideband is the car's wideband when I'm data logging the car. Other than that, I really don't mess with it too much. But when I do the innovative stuff, yeah, I've got the wires going everywhere, and it's kind of a fun deal. Let's see. Oh, Slime Cute is saying, Injected Engineering is not offering the pump setup right now and don't know when they will. Yeah, they're probably going to be a little bit behind because of the whole COVID thing. Danny's saying, what blower is good for the 392? Well, depends on what you're going to be doing with the car. Again, E-Force is a good place to start because it's such a clean install. What a lot of guys will do is they'll go with a Pro Charger. I've got some reservations with the Pro Charger. One, yeah, you can make a really good number with the Pro Charger. You're going to pick up about 150 to 170-ish horsepower with that thing. The good thing about the Pro Charger is that it's easy on the transmission. So there's that. The problem really isn't the 392. I mean, you can run 6-7 pounds of boost, even though it's an 11-to-1 engine, basically. You can still run some decent boost numbers through it and make some decent number. You're looking to make, say around 580 to the rear wheels. You can kind of do that with a D1X with a race intercooler, but It's going to be pushing it a little bit on a Mustang dyno anyway. But those blowers are easy on the transmission, but they're just a little bit clumsy in their execution. It's just not very practically packaged for these cars. Because it's not the ProCharger's fault. They didn't engineer a poorly, put together kit. It's just that these cars just don't lend themselves very well to it. I like the E-Force. Problem with the E-Force though is that it's instant torque, and you've got an HP 70 transmission, which is already kind of stressed by the 392. So why they didn't put an HP 90 behind the 392, I just don't know. But that would be a very good place to start. Now, that being said, you're going to spend a decent amount of cash on that blower setup. You might be better off if you want a supercharged V8 Hemi, and that the one you're starting off with is a 392. You might be better off taking the equity that you have in that car and buying a Hellcat. Why is that? Better transmission, beefier parts, already comes with a supercharger. There's a lot of things about the Hellcat that are really, really good. And, their durability speaks for itself, at least in my experience, especially if you're running more of a stock type of a setup, maybe a 295 upper pulley with key the crank and just a few other things. By the way, this does not have a keyed setup. It probably will be getting a keyed setup shortly. But there's some things that you can get away with a Hellcat that you simply will never be able to get away with a 392. And here's the problem. You're rarely going to make the same type of power out of a 392 with a blower that a Hellcat will make reliably. So that can be a bit of a problem. And can you do it? Yeah, you can. But remember I said reliably. And it all comes back to that transmission, by the way. You start getting into the habit of running a real sticky tire on those cars, and transmissions start to go south. And, don't even get me started on throwing nitrous on those things, because I've had them on the dyno and they slip like clockwork. 535 pound-feet of torque, that's when they'll slip. So, anyway. Oh, Billy's talking about whomever asked about the pedal commander. It's a noticeable difference. I love mine and my M6 Hellcat. Definitely feel a difference off the line. See, a lot of guys love them, man. Queasy's in saying, I think Dodge should have given the lower trims more stuff. They are Hellcating everything, but more affordable cars don't get much love. Just a lot of focus on $60,000 and up, and that's, man, I mean, you and I are rowing the same boat on that one. I would love to see him do something with the 392. A gear would, look, 331 gear, done. Scat Pack Core 331 gear, rear seat delete. I mean, dude, that car, that is a mid 11-second car on accident on a drag pack. So, Ruben saying at Slime Cuda, AJ just revealed it yesterday. I think you could order one. I'm talking about the fuel pumps. Let's see. Fred saying, yes, sir. At Alex saying, and B, you're right. The horsepower number isn't the absolute goal. It's the drivability and longevity. Look, here's the thing. If the horsepower number is the goal, then you've forgotten about everything that makes these Hemis so much fun to drive. If horsepower is your outright goal, you're driving the wrong car. And that's a weird thing to say, but you don't have an intake manifold that will support you, and really, you don't. I mean, you could get a sheet metal intake, you can get the Holley high rim, whatever it is. You can get those things, right? I get that. But you have to have the cam to go along with it. You have to have the torque converter to go along with it. If it's an automatic, you have to have the exhaust system to go along with it. You've got to basically build your car around your power band. And the power band is dictated by the cam and the intake manifold. And in many cases, more so by the intake manifold. So when you're looking at really building high horsepower with a 392, you're going to be somewhat limited by intake manifold regardless of what cam you go with. So you have to get a cam that plays nice with the intake, makes the good torque down low, and will allow your car to make power up top as it can. And to give you an idea, you've seen Quick Brick's Charger. That's got one of my cams in it that I developed with Pikes Performance. It is my personal grind that I came up with for Shalandra. I just never put the cam in the car. That particular camshaft, though, is the absolute most I could come up with to get all the power out of that thing just as much as I possibly could across the entire board without sacrificing partial throttle and, to be more to the point, tip-in throttle response. It had to be fairly easy to tune, and the number itself, yeah, it picked up. I think they got 30 horsepower out of it over a very well sorted 392, and I think overall, from soup to nuts, from stock to finally modified, I think it was like 60 or 65 horsepower. That's not just the cam, that's the cam working in concert with everything. That is one of the hardest things to do, though, when you're putting a cam together, because I know that there's a couple of tweaks that I can make to that cam and make it make more horsepower. Maybe 10 horsepower, 12, 15, whatever the number is, but it would really start to lose that tip-in throttle response. And if you lose that, then you lose just the spirit of the car. And that's something that I don't know. At that time when I was putting that cam together, I just was not willing to let that go. You can look into converters, you can look into gearing, you can look into a lot of other areas if you want to go real aggressive with the camshaft. Just know that the data that I have is showing that, the intake manifold is pretty well capped at its ability to flow, even with one of my ports, like a super aggressive port job on that intake manifold. With a Fastman 84 millimeter throttle body, and a bigger throttle body won't get you lower KPAs, which is to say that you won't get any more flow with a bigger throttle body. It's just literally the most that intake can flow, given the runner size, runner length, and all that kind of good stuff. That it's optimized with that cam, that intake, those long tube headers, everything. That setup is optimized. So, and the data just shows it. It's down to less than half an inch of mercury at some points. The intake manifold is flowing its ass off. So it's just that you have to work within the RPM range and the confines of what that intake manifold will allow you to work with. If you design a cam around that, then you'll make a great package. If you try to get too aggressive with it in any one area, it's going to be a mismatch and it's going to be dead. It's going to have flat spots. You're just not going to be that happy with it. Machine is saying, you got Instagram. Yes, BA Mason 721 is the Instagram. Haha is saying, hi Master Mason, when it comes to buying old muscle cars, I keep seeing some for sale with no tags or title. Any info, or should I stay away? Stay the hell away from it. What happens in some of those cases is, first of all, if you don't have a direct line of sight from the owner of the car through the paperwork straight to DMV, don't mess with it. I don't care how good of a deal you think you're getting. It's not going to be worth it if you've got to chase a bunch of issues with paperwork only to have something get kicked back. It's not cool when that happens. So yeah, my thing is just, do your best to, try to find something that is directly traceable through paperwork. It will save you a lot of headaches. Believe me, trust me, I know. Speed Freak saying, how do they get to the horsepower on the Superstock Red Eye? Is it just tuned differently? It is. It's got a different tune. They have revised the tune on the Hellcats and on the Red Eyes. I think they're just extending the RPM another couple hundred, maybe 300 RPM. That's it. Let's see. Slime Cuda at Ruben. What is the name of AJ's shop? Yeah, I can't remember that either. Alex is saying, I'd gladly pay an extra $1,500 for an HP90 and 392. You and me both. I had to gladly pay $2,400 for a new HP70 to put in Shalandra. Speaking of which, why did they not put one of those transmissions in the 1320? No kidding. Listen, I got a lot more questions than that on the 1320. Why did they do something about, I don't know, the engine? They could have done something, just bump it up in power or done something. They didn't even touch it. It's the same, not the same operating system, but it's practically the same tune. Why didn't they put an HP90 in it? Why didn't they re-gear it? Inquiring minds need to know this kind of stuff. And you got to remember, too, that these are grassroots folks that are buying that car. You know, I don't want to spend a premium on a car that doesn't have premium horsepower. It just doesn't, you know, if it had a different transmission, that would have been awesome. But they didn't, and that was just so frustrating. Anyway. Danny's saying, probably should have mentioned my 392 is also manual. And thanks for the knowledge. You got it, man. Thumbs up. I like it. Oh, Ruben's, yeah, Hemi Tuner Performance. Great reputation. Was an NHRA Pro Stock Racing. Has great pedigree. Very nice. Let's see. Candace saying, how much boost could you run through a 6.1 safely? Thinking about 7 PSI. I think you'd be all right with 7 PSI as long as the tune is on point. Then yeah, you should be in good shape. Also, how much power and torque can you run through the older M6 behind it? Well, the older M6 is actually pretty stout. I mean, you got to remember that M6 is a derivative of the same transmissions that were in the GT500. So I would say you could probably get away with, you know, 550 pretty easily in that transmission. Trudy saying, what is your season take on a 309 gear for the Hellcat for strictly hooting around on the street coming from an SRT 392? I would say that it is mandatory. In fact, speaking of pedal commander, get you a pedal commander and a 309 gear, leave the tune stock. You don't even have to touch it. Give the thing a little bit more driver command torque so that it feels lively again, because that 309, the car just doesn't have anything to push against. With that 309, it's some partial throttle areas, and you'll be real happy, in my opinion. Bob's asking, so are the SRTs still warranted for the track where the others are not? Maybe that's one reason why not many upgrades for non-SRTs, along with trying to keep their current price point. I don't think that they are, honestly. That was not mentioned, but I do not think that they are. Alex is asking, have you and Dr. Diff thought about approaching one of the aftermarket manufacturers with a design for a better 392 manifold? I had tried to put something together with somebody at one point, and that kind of fell through. I would like to see that, if possible, start to get, I don't know, some traction again. But yeah, I mean, if there's anybody that would listen to it, I mean, it'd be kind of cool if we could get a 3D printed rendering of a setup like that. It wouldn't really be that hard, I don't think, to put together an intake manifold like that. I've got some ideas as far as design goes. Again, I mean, I can't imagine it'd be that hard. I would want it to be made out of polymer. It would be strictly more, it'd be leaning more towards NA than anything else, obviously. I like the idea of the adjustable runner length manifolds that the LS guys can play with, but like a medium length runner, something that's basically bell mouthed and something along the lines of, like the MSD intake would be really good. There's a lot of intakes that would work well for these cars. We just need, I'd like to get a hold of MSD and just shake somebody and go, why the hell haven't you made a Hemi intake yet? And a lot of the reason for why they haven't made these intakes is that the cars are heavy and the manifolds just may not perform very well with a heavy car. And you put this engine in something that weighs 600-700 pounds less, starts to make sense. Put it in something that weighs as much as a Vet, which can be 1,000 pounds less, seemingly, then it really makes sense. Hey, Fred, thank you very much. Saying, definitely appreciate the help. What's your opinion on other superchargers other than E-Force? Was looking to either Whipple or Arrington. Thanks again. Love me some Whipple in that case. I mean, I'd probably go Whipple over the Arrington, or really anybody's. I mean, I like the E-Force, but Whipple, done a lot of Whipples, man. Or at least Pikes has done a lot of Whipples, and they work great. And the good thing about the Whipple is that, I mean, not only do they look good, but they perform very well. They're very efficient. So, yeah, if that's one of the things that you're looking at, then yeah, I would not snooze on a Whipple kit at all. They're great kits. But thank you very much, man. I appreciate the contribution. My Hemi saying my 426 isn't a ton faster than the 392 was. Looks like that stock intake is my choke point. Yeah, it is. I'm sure it's punchy through the mid range, but yeah, you're gonna want to switch it. Your top tuning tip, by the way. If you've got access to HP tuners, you're doing your own tuning, bring your RPM for your short runner intake down by about 250 RPM for the 426. It'll help it a little bit through that mid-range, or to help get it, give you a little bit of a bump in power. Trudy saying, are you still working at Pikes? Nope, not full-time, although I am still somewhat associated with it, with that shop. In fact, I gotta go by there, maybe go by there tomorrow. Danny's saying, at Bobfish, the 392 isn't warranted for the track, unfortunately. Oh, that, yeah, no, they're not. I mean, there's never been any mention of it with the 1320, which is what I think we were talking about. But guys, I want to thank y'all for hanging out. Coming up on about a little over an hour and a half. I have got to wake up with the Amish in the morning. But I want to thank everybody for hanging out with me this evening. Hopefully I didn't miss anybody. Give us about another 5-10 minutes and then I'm going to check out. But one thing I wanted to, let's see, Alan saying, can I make my 5.7 as fast as a 6.4? Yes, you can. E-Force supercharger and a tune and you are done. It will be as fast as the 392. One of the things that, I've always been kind of harping on is, the 392 guys just don't get any love. I don't know that they're ever going to get any love, but I can tell you that, for the guys that are diehards, man, my heart goes out to you because you're flying a flag for a company that is just really not looking to support you at all. At least not the way that they're supporting all these Hellcat platforms. But X is saying, yeah, you can. Yeah, no, you can do some things with a 5.7 that are actually a lot of fun. The neat thing about the 5.7 too, by the way, is it comes a little detuned from the factory. So anything that you do to them, they don't have as good of a manifold. They don't have as good as a catback if you didn't get the performance catback. So the older cars, especially the 13, 14s, 15s, you can have a lot of fun with those things because they make decent power, but they really do wake up when you start throwing parts at them. So I don't know. One of the things about the 5.7 is that it is an enthusiast's car, at least at that point. You can do stuff to it as your budget allows. If it's a manual, you can always throw a Barton shifter in it. There's stuff you can do to those cars. It's just fun in general that the 392 kind of already has done to it. So, but the only downside to them is you can only get them so far. And then it's, but the money is going to start being a problem. So anyway, it sucks when you start throwing money into the mix. But again, we're all on a budget, no matter what that budget is. But at any rate, Ruben's checking out saying, thank you for the information. Great live. See you next time. Thank you very much, brother. Danny's saying, true, but I love my 392 and I don't lose often on the street. I didn't lose very often at all with Shalandra. That car on a drag pack and that car on a drag pack on the street would dead hook, and I would hurt feelings with that thing. On drag radials, it would basically do the same thing. I mean, I was running mid 3.6, 3.7, 0 to 60s with it. Josh is saying, I work late nights, man, really enjoy hanging out with you. Man, Josh, I appreciate you hanging out. Enjoy you hanging out with you too, brother. Trudy's saying, when do you think your next stream will be? Probably on Tuesday-ish. Oh, I'm sorry. We're coming up on a weekend. Maybe Saturday. Maybe Saturday, maybe Sunday. Smoking 05 is checking out, saying have a good one. And Bob Fish is saying good night all. Oh, and Joseph's saying just join the Mopar family with the top banana Daytona. I like it. You're going to like that car a lot too. Guys, y'all have a great one. Thank y'all so very much for hanging out with me. Thank y'all for contributing to the cause. Again, check out the 2 videos on the Nittos. Again, those are your contribution dollars at work. So check out the 2 on the tires. Hopefully you like it. I can't wait to get you guys some updates on those tires as they the time ticks on with those things. So at any rate, that is a wrap. Y'all have a great one, and adios.